Hello, and thank you for coming to the Local Child Abuse Identification, Prevention, and Reporting Requirements training. We're going to talk about what happens when children are abused and neglected, as well as your reporting procedures. But first, let's talk about some guidelines for positive guidance. Earlier, we talked about guidance techniques. What's tried and true? Let's plan ahead to prevent some problems. It is true what they say, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Be proactive and not reactive. Let children know in advance. Give a heads up. Some children do not want to stop the current activity, and it's okay for them to resume at a later time. But be realistic about children's developmental limits. Only offer a choice when there is a choice. Be aware of tacking okay onto the end of a sentence. And offer children simple, controlled choices rather than many choices at once. Redirect children to the acceptable materials and activities. Sometimes it's not a problem behavior. It's just when and where it takes place that may be problematic. Rules need to be clear and consistent. Tell the children exactly what it is that you want them to do. Use positive phrasing. Remember, for every one negative interaction, you need 5 positive interactions. Problem solving. Don't rescue the child from responsibility. The steps in problem solving include help children identify the problem. Encourage children to contribute ideas and restate the ideas in a positive way. Help children decide on the best idea. And help children carry out their solution. Children should be involved in things that involve them. Reinforce the process when the problem is solved and come back to it at a later time. For example, you could say, remember how we solved the problem the last time? That is exactly how we can revisit a problem-solving solution. Impose logical or natural consequences. Remember, a logical consequence is something that we can control as teachers. Something, as an example, would be, I see that you are throwing heavy wooden blocks, and because we're not being safe, now I have to put them away. A natural consequence would be something such as, oh no, you bumped your head because you kept leaning in the chair. Are you okay? Remember, responsive caregiving happens here. Remain neutral. Don't express an I told you so attitude. Simply verbalize the connection between the behavior and the consequence in a matter-of-fact way. Help children accept responsibility for their actions. And remember to be careful with the phrasing that blames the child. Encourage children to talk about their feelings. Actively listen to and interpret when children are feeling sad, angry, frustrated, upset, happy. Help children learn the names of a wide range of emotions. And never discount a child's feelings. Never force a child to say that I am sorry. And at the moment, children don't usually say sorry because they don't know what they are sorry for. Encourage appropriate behavior. Know the difference between reinforcement and bribery. Guidelines for reinforcement include to be specific and comment on the actions, not the person. Avoid value judgments. Use body language and be specific. Be sincere. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Be realistic and avoid empty threats. Follow through with what you say that you're going to do. If you go overboard, admit it. And avoid the overuse of negatives. No, stop, and don't. Use the cooling off technique. A brief interruption of activity so children can regain composure and the ability to participate in the activity is crucial. Act immediately and allow for children to return to their activity when they have successfully calmed down. Use your actions as well as your words to develop children with successful self-regulation skills. Know that you serve as a powerful role model. You can model your actions and your feelings, make them positive ones. When we define child abuse and neglect, it can be done by a person who is responsible for the child's welfare. It can be a single incident or a pattern of behavior. This is what we call the continuum of harm. Parents, center employees, and all other people that are responsible for the well-being of that child are responsible for understanding what child abuse and neglect is. What falls into the realm of abuse? Major physical injury is one of them. Brain damage, broken bones, dislocations or sprains, internal injuries, poisoning, burning or scalding, and severe cuts, lacerations, or bruises. Minor physical injuries. Injuries are considered minor if they do not pose a life-threatening risk to the child. Examples of minor injuries are included but not limited to minor cuts, minor bruises, twisting, and shaking. Sexual abuse. Exploitation, rape, intercourse, incest, and other forms of abuse can fall into the realm of sexual abuse. Neglect. A child is considered neglected if they are not given the things needed to survive and grow. These include food, shelter, supervision, clothing, education, and healthcare. How can you tell of physical abuse? There's a visible injury. There is a statement by the child, either direct or indirect. A child seems frightened by parents or other adults. They are withdrawn from activities or lack self-confidence. They hurt themselves or others. They are easily scared by sudden noises or movements, and they witness an adult use corporal punishment. How can you tell of sexual abuse? Torn or bloody clothing or underclothing, bruises or bleeding around private parts, obvious pain when walking or sitting, scratching intimate areas, premature sexual knowledge, fear of specific places such as bathrooms and bedrooms, excessive curiosity about sex, and if the child tells you of an event. How can you tell of neglect? Inappropriate clothing for the weather, always hungry or tired, refusal by the parent or guardian to take the child to the doctor, injury caused by another due to the lack of supervision, which especially applies to center care. What else should we know? There can be some cultural differences in what people define as child abuse and neglect. Always communicate with parents what you are seeing and what you are hearing. Extreme family or work situations which may increase stress levels, such as deployments, deaths in the family, a big PCS or a move, or maybe a new baby. Despite all of these, the definition of child abuse is not flexible, and all abuse must be reported immediately. What are your responsibilities? You must file a report when you suspect abuse. You are a mandated reporter. In the state of Utah, if you are over the age of 18, you are automatically a mandated reporter. You may be able to make an anonymous report, but if the case goes to trial, you may be asked to testify. Who do you report to? Center management and family advocacy. Number 1, you call a code 4. You come out of the classroom and you find your director. You tell them the situation. Explain to them what you see and what you hear. You may write a statement. Once you write that statement, you may never hear about what happens about the situation after that, but you did your job. Sometimes reporting can be uncomfortable, but you are the child's voice. You must provide necessary details, respect confidentiality of that child. Take care of yourself. It's hard on people who care about children to learn that they have been mistreated. Remember, you don't need to prove that the abuse occurred, but if you suspect it, you must report it. How can you prevent abuse and neglect at work? It is always okay to ask for help. Use positive guidance techniques like the ones we talked about earlier in the video, and understand what behavior is developmentally appropriate for the children in your care. Attempt to understand misbehavior. Behavior is a form of communication, and we must find what the unmet need is. Use your ABCs, the antecedent, the behavior, and the consequence, to determine what underlying factors may be triggering this behavior. Maintain ratio in your classroom at all times. Remember, your ratios in the classroom are, for infants, 4 babies to 1 teacher, pre-toddlers, 5 pre-toddlers, to 1 teacher. In your toddler age group, you've got 7 toddlers to 1 teacher. And then in certain classrooms for preschool, you have 9 children to 1 teacher or 12 children to 1 teacher. Be aware of the visitors in your classroom and in your center, and recognize your personal stress level. Take care of yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. In your classrooms, you're going to have a poster that says, "It's up to all of us to protect children and teens from Military One Source." Everyone should report known or suspected child abuse and neglect. Once you have made the report, your director has 24 hours to get it all the way up the chain of command. It is very important from the moment that you see a behavior happen or suspect abuse and neglect that you report immediately. Please remember these guidelines when thinking about reporting in your classroom. If you ever have questions or doubts, or if something keeps you up at night, there's a good chance that you should be reporting it. Thank you.